Welcome back to Legends Live, as presented by the National Basketball Retired Players Association, the home of all our NBA and WNBA legends. I'd like to remind you to submit your questions during the show, and we will answer those before we wrap up with our guests. Without any further ado, I'd like to welcome in today's guest. We have former LSU Tiger. He was a Memphis as well as a Vancouver Grizzly. We have Stromile Swift with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me, man. It's a pleasure to be on the show.
Oh, of course, man. Thank you. First things first. I'd like to ask people how people are doing. How are you doing?
Man, I'm doing pretty good, man. Just back in Louisiana, like here with my little girl, man. Just enjoying life.
Yeah, I feel that. You've been keeping up with the playoffs?
Yeah, man. I'm tuned in every night, man. I'm waiting to see the games tonight.
Okay, I think Milwaukee, Miami's tonight. Phoenix, LA, and I think Denver, Portland. So you think Miami can climb out of that hole?
Man, Spoelstra, like they do a great job of adjusting to the other team's strengths. So I'm looking forward to it. Like they play with a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of grit. They play with a lot of passion. So I'm looking forward to a great coaching staff down there as well. So I'm just looking forward to them to make this more of a series, because right now, like Milwaukee's kind of slept on that. Milwaukee's my underdog right now, and there's not a lot of buzz around them right now. Well, actually this year. So I don't think that pressure is on Giannis this year. So I think Milwaukee's they're my sleeper this year. But I'm looking forward to Miami to make it more of a series.
Okay, I was just saying they got to do something, because we saw last year they whooped the Bucks, and this year the Bucks kind of returned the favor. But you said Milwaukee's kind of your sleeper. Why the?
I feel like they're my sleeper because like nobody's talking about them right now. They're kind of flying a little bit under the radar this year. Like I think Philly took a little bit of that buzz away from them this year. They played so well under Doc and just the new coaching staff that they have, and it seems like Embiid and my fellow Tiger Ben Simmons, man, they're finally like putting it together, and man, they looking like a championship caliber team right now.
Yeah, you got Brooklyn as well, so I can see definitely how the Bucks are getting lost in the conversation a little bit.
Yes, sir.
So we got Phoenix, LA. What do you think happens there tonight? Because we saw Phoenix win game 1. LA came back, tied it up game 2. So what do you see tonight?
I think Phoenix, they're only going to go as far as Chris Paul takes them. That's what I believe. I think Chris Paul does a great job as a floor general. Like he doesn't have to score a whole lot of points. He doesn't have to do a whole lot, but just his leadership and
I think controlling the game.
Yeah, like the way he paces the game and controls the pace of the game, it dictates a lot of ways of how successful they're going to be. And with the Lakers, like I love LeBron, I love AD, but they're only going to go as far as AD. Like takes AD has to dominate.
Yeah,
and there are a lot of guys they're putting on him that's undersized, and he just has to take advantage of the opportunities that he get. I think he shoots a lot of jump shots. He bails them out. Like I know from experience when guys because he can really shoot the ball. Like he can
get hot.
But they would rather him beat them that way by shooting jump shots instead of getting those easy. Because like they can't guard him either way. Like when he's hitting his jump shot, he's pretty much unstoppable. But man, when if he just punished them in the paint, I think that sets the tone. And I think I'm looking to see the Lakers kind of pull it off. But like I said, they only gonna go as far as AD like takes them.
And I think we saw that game 2 when they really started to look more live. What do you think? I mean, it's looking like I agree with you on the Chris Paul thing, but it's looking like he's injured. Like I don't know what that injury is going to do. Like, you think they can still put up a good fight even if he's got one good shoulder?
I think so. Like Devin Booker is kind of stepping into his own. Like he's been in his own. Like a lot of the fans just haven't really gave him his just dues. Like he's been a sniper. He's been a killer since college. I've been watching him since Kentucky. So he's been a really good scorer. Now he's able to to show it on a bigger level now. Like it's like the bright lights are on, like everybody's watching. Like now it's time for him to kind of step it up a little bit more. Man, they have a really solid team. Aiton's playing really well right now. Like I like the way he's playing. Like they have a championship caliber team over there. Great coach in Monty Williams. So man, I think they can. Like even with a half of Chris Paul, I think they can still make some noise.
Okay. Last series we got for today, we got Denver and Portland. That's another one that's tied. Which way you see that one going tonight? Like you talking about like big time guys. We got Dame on one side, Jokic on one side. Where do you see that one playing?
Man, I'm pulling for Dame. Like I'm like Dame's always been the underdog. Just haven't been able to get over that hump. And I would like to see Dame like get there. And you know, he's done it without a lot of the superstars coming and joining forces or whatever. Right. But I think he's a loyal player. He's a great player. I don't think he gets his just dues, but I would like to see him, you know, get over that hump. Yeah.
Who are some of your other favorite players? We talked a little like Giannis, like Dame and come, but who are some other guys you either like to watch or kind of keep tabs on?
Oh man, I'm like people ask me who do I go for? Like I'm not really like I cheer for the teams that I played on. Right. Especially if some of the guys that I are still playing that I played with, then I'll cheer for those guys. Definitely. I think the only guys right now that's in the playoffs that I played with, maybe Mike Conley. I can't think of anybody else, but I think that's about it. That's in the playoffs. In Memphis, you all played together. Yeah, like I was there his rookie year.
Okay.
Yeah. But man, I'm a huge LeBron fan. Like I like AD, Embiid, Ben Simmons, Spider Mitchell, Tatum. Like man, I'm just a fan of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What you mentioned Spider Mitchell. What do you make of did you see like the whole injury, the game 1 situation he had?
Yeah, like I didn't understand that. I'm still trying to figure out like what happened with that. Like if you're able to play like 9 times out of 10, well 10 times out of 10, like the time that I spent in the NBA, if you can play, then you're gonna play. So right. I don't know what that situation was about, like why they held him out, if they didn't feel like he was like ready.
Yeah.
But just from my understanding, like he went through shoot around, he went through practice and he felt like he was able to play. Then he went through pregame and like he said he was ready. So I don't understand why they didn't let him play. So, but I could see the frustration in his face when he was doing the interview. Like every game is important. Every game right now is important. It's a must win. And for him to not play that first game and to lose, for them to go down 0-1 to the number 8 seed, that wasn't good. But hopefully they can bounce back series 1-1. So hopefully they can go to Memphis and. Well, I'm not saying hopefully because I'm going for Memphis in this series, but hopefully Memphis can pull off the upset. But you know, as far as their team, I know they're thinking like every game is important, and
right.
You know, they probably hoping that they can go and steal 1 or 2 games in Memphis and get that series back under control.
Now, as a former player, like what's the process to like. If you're injured, like, are you playing tonight? What's that whole process like? You come out for shoot around, you know, like pregame. Like, what's that process like?
You basically like you kind of have to judge it on your own. Like everybody has a different pain tolerance, like of what they can take. Most of the time in the playoffs, man, you gonna if it's a minor little nagging injury, like you're probably gonna play through that.
Play through that one.
Yeah, so like I don't know the extreme of his injury, but if the guy says he can go, like especially a guy of that caliber, right? If he says he can go and he's ready, then you got to put him out there. Like I haven't been on a team where I said I can play and they didn't play me, especially the star player. If the star player can play in a playoff game, like I was baffled behind that one. So I don't know.
Now, as a player, do you think? Like, I guess you try to see the other side from the team. Is that something like that would make you upset? Like, okay, they're trying to have my best interest in mind. Like, ultimately, we want the same thing. We both want to win a championship. So if they think me not playing game one is better for me long term, like, is that something that you could get over as a player, or is there anything to get over?
Man, I don't know if they were underestimating the Grizzlies or like what they were thinking. We can
handle
sit
it
him out
without
and get him another day of rest and bring him back. But you don't want to risk a serious injury, and you don't want to risk getting down in the playoffs either. Like I said, every game counts. So I don't know what the thought process was going into that, but man, you have to check. That's what the medical staff, the training staff, all those people are there to, evaluate you and watch you go through shoot around, watch you go through your pregame, and from my understanding, he went through the pregame and he felt like he was ready to go, and he didn't find out until after that he wasn't going to be able to play. So I know
that's the crazy. Like, how did you find out so late?
Yes, like that's the thing. Like, they evaluate you from shoot around in your pregame, and the trainers, they'll come and ask you, like, how do you feel? They go through that routine, and you tell them you good, you ready, like you feel like you can go. Like, just watching his interviews, he was 100% ready to go. And then
definitely ready.
Like the way that he played in game two, like he didn't have a limp, like it was like no sign of an injury. Yeah. So I don't know what the thought process was behind that, but it cost him a game. And, that could play a major role, because Memphis, man, they're scrappy, tough. Man, it's like they're fun to watch. So, they can make it pretty tough on them, and that game could cost them that series. So, like, we'll see in the future.
Yeah. Now, something happened last night, not a game that we'll see tonight, but did you see what happened in the Philly-Washington game where the fan hit Russell Westbrook with the popcorn? Like, have you ever had anything crazy like that happen?
Not as far as a fan throwing something at me or trying to put their hands on me. Like, it's cool. The fans, they have their favorite players. They have players that they don't like, or teams that they don't like, and they say things. Sometimes it's disrespectful, which I don't think is cool, because, like, the players can't say what they want to say back to the fans. But
it's one-sided.
For a long time, it's just been like the fans say whatever. You just get over players. You just have to get over it. But now it's like guys are kind of stepping up for themselves or standing up for themselves, and like, no, I'm a grown man. You're not gonna disrespect me. Like, you can boo me and say I suck and all that type of stuff, but you're not gonna right. You're not gonna cross that line and get personal and disrespect me. And like, that guy dumping popcorn on Russ's head, like that was disrespectful. And I think, for me, I think more has to be done, because they're, a fan does that and they think they can get away with it because you have the security, and they know if a player runs in the stand and hits them, that's going to be a lawsuit, like all kind of crazy stuff. So I think something needs to be done. And it seems like people are kind of picking at Russ a little bit more than everybody else. I don't know if it's more.
Yeah. It's always something.
He's had a few run-ins in the last few years. So, but I'm sure. Then I saw the fans spit on Trae Young. Like, man, that was the ultimate disrespect for me. Like, you can talk about whatever you want to talk about basketball, but man, you slap somebody or you spit in their face or spit on them, like that's the ultimate disrespect.
Yeah. I know I've seen people were talking about it kind of jokingly. I kind of agree with it. I'll see what you think about it. It's like, listen, once a year, every player gets to fight a fan. Like, so if you want to get yours out of the way early in the year, you can. If you want to wait toward the end of the year, what do you make of that?
Man, that's hilarious. Because I don't, man. Like, in the NBA, there's some big guys in there. The fans that do that type of stuff, I don't think that the fans would actually, like, do something like that if they saw somebody, like a player walking on the street. I think Russ is like 6'4", 6'5". Right. Like, they ain't about to dump no popcorn on his head. No. Like, you think he played basketball hard? Like, I don't think you want to get in a fight with this dude.
No, especially not.
Yeah.
So have you ever had anybody, like, even get close to that with you? Like I got to go up in the stands, or did they cross the line, or they've been pretty cool?
I think, Man, there was a fan in Portland. It was either Portland or Utah. I can't remember, but he used to come to the games. He never said a word. He had this blackboard. He had this little whiteboard clipboard that he used to with a sharp. It was a erasable marker, and he just used to write stuff down. And he would always sit behind the visitors bench. So during timeouts, he's just standing up, and he has this big board and like he lets you know who he's talking about, and he just like Swift, you suck, something crazy like that. Like
I was gonna say, like what else would he write on the board?
Man, it was some crazy stuff, and man, I had a teammate, Jason Williams. Like he was like white chocolate, man. He was one of the funniest dudes. But if you talk about him, like he was a jokester. He liked to crack jokes.
He'd go back there.
Like he would crack jokes on you without cussing you out or being disrespectful. And they used to be hilarious, and like they would leave him alone.
What's something you remember him saying one time to a fan that like kind of got him off his back?
Man, it's a story I can't even. I don't even want to tell it, man. It was so funny. I can't remember where we were, but there was a guy in the stand, and if he sees this, he probably won't laugh now. So I give him a pass because we were all younger back then. And there was a guy in the stands. He didn't have any arm. I think he maybe had one arm. He was missing an arm, and the guy was just ragging on him, just talking crazy about it. Yeah. And he didn't say nothing. All he did was just put his arm in his shirt like that. Like he didn't have an arm. And I was like, man,
that's
like, you're not supposed to laugh at stuff like that, but it was hilarious, man. Like,
yeah, I mean, how did the guy take it? Like, did the guy take it?
He shut up. Like, man, it was. I have stories about that dude right there, but this guy didn't say anything else the whole game, and it was like, man, if you can't dish it, if you can't take it, don't dish it.
Yeah, I guess you learn your lesson when somebody when they finally go back at you.
Yeah.
You played in a couple cities. Like, what was your favorite city to play, like fans wise, or just like city wise?
Man, Sacramento. They had probably one of the oldest gyms. I can't remember like how old it was, but like the arena wasn't that big. I know it wasn't that big. It wasn't the average size of most of the arenas in the league. But their fans were crazy. Like they were crazy loud. It's like sometimes you couldn't even hear yourself talking in that arena. So that was one of my favorite places. And of course, Staples Center, Madison Square Garden are always one of my favorite places to play, and probably Miami.
Okay, what is it about Madison Square? Everybody says Madison Square Garden. What is it about MSG?
Man, I don't know what it is. It's just a vibe. Like when you walk in that place, it's just like you gotta like step your game up because everybody's watching. I don't know what it is, but that's one of the arenas. Like you can go all around the league, and like when you go there, it's just
different.
It's just something about it, man. It has that it factor, and then they're gonna bring out all the stars. Like the Knicks they can win 10 games, but the fans are still gonna come out and support them. Like they gonna come out and support their team.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Now, I mentioned you were part of the Vancouver and Memphis Grizzlies. Like your first year there was their last year there. So what do you remember about all that? Just like getting there, leaving. What do you remember about all that?
Man, that was one of my favorite places to go. Like even after we left, I would go back every summer and just hang out there. Like it was like
Vancouver.
It was a really, really great place to be. Like clean, people real nice. Man, you don't. It was just like a big melting pot of people.
Right.
Like I didn't feel any racism there. Like it was just a great place to be. Like the people were super, super cool. Like the hospitality there felt like home. Like it was great, man. Like
good experience.
It was a great experience. The team wasn't very good. Like we were, I think my first year we may have won maybe 21 games, something like that. We started out pretty decent, but like once we started playing, the guys started getting warmed up and getting into the middle of the season. Like it was tough.
Yeah. So what So what was it like moving? Like you get to Vancouver, you said you liked it, the city, treated you well, and then you have to immediately
like the players. I think because I didn't know any better. This was my first year, so I didn't know anything about the taxes and all that stuff. And a lot of guys didn't like even the owner. Rest in peace to Michael Heisley. A lot of they were saying how much money they were losing by just being in Canada because you get double taxed.
Right.
You getting Canadian tax and U.S. tax. So that was tough on a lot of guys. So they didn't like that. I remember that being a big part of guys wanting to leave and being away from their families.
Right. So. I was like, cause that's a long way. So I know, like you Shreveport native, went to LSU. Memphis is a lot closer to home, so you're probably definitely happy on that front.
Yeah, for the first part of it, I was like, Memphis was great. Memphis was like they welcomed us with open arms. Like it's a southern city, like so it felt like home to me.
Right.
And man, like everybody just was so happy that the team was there. So like that first year it was cool, but then it's like man, it was hard for me to go places. Like when you know how you go into a new environment, like you got to understand your surroundings.
Right.
So
where you can and can't go.
You're right. So like I was going to places that I probably shouldn't have been. So like back then they would have these paid appearances. So they would have these paid appearances where you go to high schools and like sign autographs for an hour, like something like that. And I remember like one of my teammates, he was actually from Memphis, Lorenzen Wright, rest in peace to Ren, like great teammate. So when he would go places, he would always have security with him. Right. So I wasn't, but he was a veteran at the time. Like like this is my second year. Like
he's new to it.
Yeah. So and I'm new to the city. Right. So we go to this paid appearance. I can't remember the high school, but I parked my vehicle like right in the front. Like they had a security guard like right at the front of the gym. So I go into the gym and we play this game of knockout like at halftime. So I'm only in the gym maybe 15 to 20 minutes. I walk around the gym, I'm waving at everybody, take a couple pictures, and then we play this game of knockout. And right after that, I leave from the game and I go back and my car sitting on bricks.
Oh man!
Like I was hurt.
Yeah.
But it was funny at the same time because like I see this big guy over here doing security, and we asked him like you ain't called police, you ain't seen
what, you ain't seen nothing?
He was like I ain't seen nothing. I was like like it was impossible for him not to see like what happened. But like man, I took a couple L's like that.
What kind of car was it?
Man, it was actually a loaner. It was from it was a dealership, Gossett. I can't remember the guy's first name. It was Gossett. And it was a loaner car that they had loaners, but man, they had fixed it up. They put rims on it, put music in it for me. Like they fixed it up real nice for me. And man, I was so embarrassed to call them and let them know that the car had like the rims.
I had that conversation go. Like I got some bad news.
Yeah. But it was cool. Like, and then it happened to me. I went to the movies, and man, I go into the movie. I parked in a handicap because of what had happened to me at the gym. So I was like, man, I'm parking in the handicap from now on. I'm not parking all the way in the parking lot. So I park in the handicap.
What do you mean because of what happened to you in the gym?
At the high school. Like
I got you. Yeah,
they left me on.
They're not gonna catch you twice. Yeah.
They left me on the center blocks. That was the first time I had ever seen that. Like I was in there for 15 minutes, and I come back out. They had me on center blocks. So I go to the movies, and I parked in a handicap spot, like right in the front of the movies. I was like, I don't think anybody's that bold to try to get me right there in front of the.
Can't do that.
I parked in the handicap spot. I came back out, windows busted out. Like this was back during the time, like you had the TVs and the headrests and the PlayStations in there, like all that stuff. Man, they took the DVD players out. Like
they got everything.
Yeah, it was a mess, man.
Oh man, I hope you didn't learn too many more lessons like that.
No, it wasn't too many. Maybe one or two more. Like I've had a couple of incidents in Memphis. I learned my lesson though.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's really all you can do.
Yeah.
Learn from it.
Yeah.
Now,
But other than that, man, Memphis was like I tell you what, once you start winning, then
that's when
you get a little bit more respect in the neighborhoods. Like you go, and then when they see you doing like other things in the neighborhood, like actually coming in and working with the kids and like really just giving back, man. With what they say, like man, what you put in it, that's what you get out of it. And man, you do a lot of stuff for that community, and they embrace you with open arms, man. It was a fun city, but I think during my time at the end, it didn't have anything to do with the city why I wanted to leave, but it was more so the coaching staff. But yeah.
Now I think one of the earlier coaches you had was Hubie Brown, the legend. What do you remember about playing for Hubie?
Man, my first couple years was Sidney Lowe.
Sidney Lowe,
Like Sid was he was a really good coach, but I think a lot of the guys or some of the guys on the team, they were probably around the same age as Sid. So I think it was probably like a respect level.
Tough for him to get the locker room.
Yeah. So man, when they brought in Huey, well, first they brought in Jerry West. And like Jerry came, then he brought in Hubie. Man, when I tell you the mindset of the team like just changed. Like they changed that whole identity of the team just from I don't want to say those two guys, but they were the two main guys that came in and just changed culture. Yeah, completely changed. Like so what you're seeing now, I think they're still benefiting 20 years later from what Jerry West actually
laying that groundwork.
They laid that foundation there. And now it's like you go from a team that's never made the playoffs or you winning 17 or 20 some games a year. Like that's like nobody wants to support that. Nobody wants to see it. Like so you're not putting a good product on the floor. Like nobody wants to come and support that. But man, Huey was when I remember his first day, and he told me because I had never had a coach that was just like would get in your face and like cuss you out, like talk. Say whatever. He was 100% authentic, real as it get. Like the best coach I ever had. Like I remember my first day, he was like, we were going over the plays, like everything was new. Like all the plays, he had changed up everything. Like so you basically forget everything that you know.
It's all new.
Everything is new. Like you don't know nothing. You don't know. I don't want to use the word, but you don't know nothing. So forget everything that you think you know and just listen. And he told us that we buy into what he was saying, that we're probably not going to make the playoffs this year. But the teams that are fighting for those, the number 1 and 2 and 3 seed, like they're not going to want to play us. And by the end of the season, everybody had bought in, and it was exactly what he said. And I just remember my first day, me thinking, I was like, man, I'm not going to be able to play for this dude. Because he told me to get on, he was like, get on this line. And I was maybe like 1 inch away from this line. And I was like, in my mind, like that inch doesn't make a difference.
Right, I'm close enough.
Yeah, but in basketball, it's all about inches, angles and inches. And man, that was one thing that he made me realize. And from that day forward, man, I just like whatever he said, man, I was just like 100% like willing to do it. And I think one of the things that he did with that team is made everybody feel like they belong. And what I mean about this is he had this system where it's like you earn your starting spot. Like everybody that started, you played 6 minutes.
Okay.
That second unit, you play 6 minutes unless you get in foul trouble. And you would play through that system all the way to the fourth quarter. And whoever was playing well at that time, like that's who finished out like the fourth quarter. Right. So there was never a coach on the sideline unless somebody got in foul trouble or something like that. At the 6 minute mark, you knew what time like nobody had to tell you to go in. Like you just knew to get up and go and check in the game. And I think that made it like it's hard to do that, but we had a team, like we had a second unit that was nice. Like we were.
Who else was on that team with you?
Oh man, we had let's see. I think the starters were Jason Williams, Mike Miller, Shane Battier, Pau Gasol, Lorenzen Wright, myself, Earl Watson, Bonzi Wells, James Posey.
Okay, yeah, the deep team,
man, we were deep, man. Like that second unit, like it was a lot of teams that were better, but their second, like their team as a whole, I don't think was
as deep.
A whole lot. Yeah, like so that first year he came midway through the season. Like we didn't make the playoffs, and like I said, he told us, you know, by the end of the season, like guys are not gonna want to play you. And man, it was like we beat the Lakers. Like we beat, like this was the Lakers with Kobe, Shaq, and like the team, like they actually wanted
on top, yeah.
But this was during their three-peat. And man, they were tough. San Antonio was tough. Phoenix was tough back then. And it was like, man, people didn't want to play us. Like the Nets, like the Nets were number one in their conference. Like we beat them. But man, Huey just had just a different mindset, man. And he didn't play by like the politics of the game. Like a lot of times, you know, you sign big deals, like they want you to play. And I remember this one particular situation where, man, we was missing everything. I mean, we had everything except a shooter, and they were really trying to get Mike Miller on the team.
Great shooter.
So they traded Drew. We had Drew Gooden on the team too. I forgot about Drew.
I remember that.
So they traded Drew
to Orlando, right?
Orlando, and we got Mike. But when Mike came, Bonzi was there. So Hubie is new. Like Mike and Bonzi, they're new. So and Huey's I'm gonna play the best player that's on the floor. I'm gonna play the best player. So at the time, like Bonzi was a big guard, so he came in, he was bullying, like Bonzi could play power forward, 3, 2, like man, he could do it all. And at that position, like nobody could stop Bonzi. So at that time, like Bonzi was like, that's who's gonna start. So like Huey started getting a little chatter from upstairs, like they wanted Mike to play because they had just paid. I think they had just paid Mike like 50 or 55 million. That was a lot back then. They had just paid Mike. So, you know, man, we bought Mike here to play. Like they bought him here. Like we want to, you know, they
get some return of investment. Yeah.
Huey was like, I'm gonna play. Like you bought me here to coach. Like I'm not listening to all that chatter coming from upstairs, and he was just straight up like that. And eventually, you know, Mike was a sniper, like great player,
great shooter.
Eventually, you know, and they never bumped heads because the playing time was pretty equal. So like Huey made it fun. Like everybody like wanted to play for each other and play for him. And man, I think that was one of the better teams. I think we won 50 games that next year. Like that had never been done in the Grizzlies history. So like that was a great accomplishment to win 50 games. So that was pretty cool.
I was gonna say, what was that like going from like a relatively new organization, one that switches countries, and then you all make the playoffs for the first time in the Grizzlies hit? Like it wasn't like you all looked up and saw like some 1970s Grizzlies banners. You all were the first ones. What was that like?
Man, it was cool, man. Like the fans, like so when we first got there, like the city was excited for the Grizzlies to come, but they were more like Memphis Tigers. Like Memphis Tigers ruled Memphis. Like there's a basketball city, but there was nothing above the Memphis Tigers. And they had great teams to come through Memphis.
Was that the John Calipari era?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Like that was they had some squad. And like those guys were really, really cocky too, because they really felt like, man, they used to talk a lot because we were terrible. Like my first year, we were terrible. So we would see those guys out, and they literally thought that they could beat us.
The college kids thought they could beat
us. Like the Memphis Tigers thought that they could beat like the Grizzlies.
Did y'all ever set that up?
Man, they didn't want that. Like even though we wasn't good in the NBA, like we were still pros. Like those guys. You may have had maybe 2 or 3 pros on their team, and you talking about you gonna beat. No, that wasn't gonna happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Now I feel like I gotta ask. We won't keep you too much longer. Something you're known for, like the big dunks and you used to do the bird wings.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Man, that came from high school. My teammates, like every time we would get a big block or a big dunk or something like that, and we would like that was our little clique or whatever. So we would just represent. So when I got to college, and I would do it, and the fans from LSU really like kind of gave me that nickname, like Stro Show and all that stuff. So they would draw these posters and they would have the hand sign up, and I just kind of ran with it. Yeah. And like after every dunk I would do, it was basically just represent like from my friends from high school, like where I came from, and so it was pretty cool.
Got you.
Yeah.
So yeah, see that after all the big dunks, of the dunks, do you have like a favorite one? A favorite one of yours that sticks in your mind?
Man, I see a lot of those YouTube videos that they
like best 10 dunks or best,
but I don't think they have like all of my best dunks. I think like they got some good ones on there. Like the one over Yao may have been my one of my favorites. But man, just over my career, like I had some really impressive ones, and I was like, man, like most of them are VHS, so I can't even find them. So, but yeah, like that one over Yao may have been one of my favorites because I knew it was unexpected. Nobody thought I was getting ready to do that,
right?
Because it wasn't like I had a head of steam and I was going right at him and went over the top of him. It was just like two power dribbles from the free throw line, and it
just
was
like up and over top of him.
Yeah,
right?
It just went up over. Like I shocked myself, to be honest. Like I jumped and I didn't even realize how high it was.
Right.
But that was a pretty good one though.
Now you played with Yao, did you, later on?
Yeah. So I think maybe that next year I was a free agent and I went over to Houston.
Uh-huh.
And when I walked in, that was the first thing he said to me. He's like, "Now I don't have to worry about you dunking over me like that again."
That's a good way. Like, at least you knew he wasn't going to take it out on you.
Yeah, but man, like Yao, man, I was so happy to see him get in the Hall of Fame, man. It was because a lot of guys just kind of underestimated him, I think. And man, he was one of the hardest working guys that I ever seen. Like Earl Watson, man, incredible work ethic, like worked really hard. Man, Earl would, like sometimes I would pass by the gym. Earl would be in the gym at 12, 1 o'clock in the morning.
Just getting some work in.
Getting some work in. So he was a really hard worker. But Yao, man, he probably was the hardest worker that I ever played with.
Really?
You know, a lot of guys have stories about their great work ethics, but man, I just remember at times like Tracy McGrady would be so upset with Tom Thibodeau with Tibbs because man, Tibbs he's a gym rat. Like Tibbs was.
Like, he was one of the assistants on that team.
Yeah, he was assistant. Okay. He was assistant on the team, and man, Tibbs was like he was a gym rat. Like if you wanted to work out, he was always going to be in the gym. Great basketball mind, great basketball IQ, but man, he was a gym rat. And I just remember Mac being so upset because like they would like, and it wasn't so much as Tibbs, it was Yao like wanting to put in that work.
Right.
I understood it more once I went to China, but like Yao would like come to the gym like a couple of hours early, and like he would just work out, just work like pregame, like porns, like right before the game, he just went through
a whole sweat.
Man, he went through a crazy workout. And when he would come out, like first quarter, unstoppable, all the way to the third quarter, he's unstoppable. But you get into the fourth quarter or maybe overtime, like he's running out of gas, he's done.
Right. A lot of minutes.
Like Mac used to, he used to complain about that because he was like, man, y'all working him too hard by the fourth quarter. Like he's done. That's my big fella. I need him. In the fourth quarter. And that year, like unfortunately, like Mac went down, had the back injury. I think y'all had like shin splints or something. Like I can't remember exactly what it was. I don't know if it was a foot injury or shin splints, whatever it was. But man, Juwan Howard went down. Like, man, we lost a lot of players that year. We started bringing guys from the D League. So it was, man, like we had a great team, but just injuries just kind of took over that year.
Yeah, it'll happen sometime.
Yeah, but man, I developed a whole new respect for Yao. Like he was one of the greats.
And you later on, you also played with Shaq, didn't you?
Oh my goodness, yeah. I played with Shaq in Phoenix.
What do you remember? Just that immediate, oh my goodness! What did you think of? Like, what came to mind when you remember playing with Shaq?
Man, he was just a funny dude, man. Like I had met him my freshman year in college. He'd come back to LSU. Uh-huh. So man, I used to always like just pick his brain and just like ask him like what it takes to make it to the NBA. Just ask him like what was like, and I always like little kids for him. Like he was always big brother to us, but so I never really got a chance to like just actually hang out with him and
just be around.
Like his personality, like he walks into any room, like he's gonna like he'll light up any room, like he's just smiling and joking, and like everybody loves him. But just playing on the team with him, man, he was funny. He's just a big kid, just funny dude, man.
So what we see on TV is pretty much the same thing he was in practice.
It's the same. It was the same thing. Probably a little bit more. But I'll say most of his teammates like loved him.
Yeah.
I was watching a little clip from All the Smoke. He was on the show with Matt and Stat. And he was like because Matt Barnes was on that team too. They were telling us a story about like one of the former teammates, Lewis Amundsen. So the story that they told on the podcast was a story totally different from what I remember. But I won't get into that. Like what stays in the locker, what happens in the locker.
Okay, I was gonna say
it was funny. It was a funny incident. But Shaq, I just remember I had never had a team like the only teammate that I had like that was Jason Williams. But I just remember Lewis Amundsen, like he lived down the street from the arena, so he would ride a bike to practice every day.
Okay.
So Shaq was like, man, you make too much money to be riding a bike to the games or to practice. So Shaq would get his bike and take it all the way up to the nosebleed and just like leave it. So
after practice?
Yeah, so after practice, like all the vets, like, Shaq was, he was, I think maybe, I can't remember what year he was then, but, he was, like, he didn't have to practice as much. Yeah, so, like, the vets would get out of practice a little bit early, then the younger guys would have to stay, and we would play 3-on-3. And so Lewis always had to play 3-on-3 with everybody, and, like, Shaq go to the locker room and take his bike. Man, he would put grapefruits on the handles of a bike. Man, he had one of those old, I don't know where he got this telephone from, but it was one of those old school 1980 telephones. He had got some duct tape and wrapped it around the bike.
Wrapped like the whole cord around the bike?
No, the whole phone. Like the phone was like on the handlebars. Like, so every day it was something different. Like one day he might get out of practice and Shaq took the wheels off the bike. It was funny, man.
There's always something.
It was always something with that dude, man. But like one thing I can say about it, like Shaq always like took care of his rookies though. Like he would joke and prank them all year long, and at the end of the year, like he would always look out for his rookie. He'd do nice things for him. Like he's a like really good dude.
Let's see. We'll jump to a couple viewer questions again. We don't want to hold too much of your time. We got Bridget here. Bridget says, sources say the Phoenix Suns charter flights were legendary.
Man, legendary.
Is there anything you can share? What made them so legendary?
Man, so I'm like, I left, man, I was going through a really, really tough time. Like my mom had just passed in 2009. So I was really just going through it. And like basketball was like when I got to the arena, it was just like everything just went away. But just on my way there and on my way home and just throughout the night, like it was tough. So I get there and Matt Barnes, like his mom, like he had just recently lost his mom. So, like, he was always there, like just to kind of lift me up a little bit and just like talk to me. And like that helped a lot. But man, like going into a new situation, getting on. I don't know the stories that I don't know who asked the question, but like my first experience was being on the plane with Shaq, Grant Hill, Shaq's ex-wife Shawnee, and Grant Hill's wife Tamia.
Yeah.
Man, it was a whole concert on the plane. I was blown away. I'm sitting over there in my seat. I got my headphones on. I had to take my headphones off because like Grant has this little I don't know what you call it, like a little guitar.
Okay.
Like Tamia's like they just, man, it was a concert. Like she was singing, like everybody was on the plane just singing. It was a whole concert on there. Like I was like, man, like this is crazy. Like I couldn't wait to get off the plane, like to call my family. Like, man, y'all should like if y'all would have witnessed what I just witnessed on the plane, like
you wouldn't believe
it. Yeah, it was incredible. Like I needed to pay them some money for the show they just put on. Like it was cool. Like Shaq, like he can't sing, but you know he's just like a
entertainer.
Yeah, he entertains, and man, I didn't know Grant was so well rounded. Like Grant,
he can play guitar. Like he can play pretty well.
He played guitar, piano, like the keyboard. Like he was like, man, like it was incredible. Like I had never seen anything like it. Like it was pretty cool, dope experience.
Definitely, yeah. I was gonna say, it definitely sounded like something memorable.
Yeah.
Let's see, got another.
And then that was the first team that I had been on that would let your wives, like the wives and like girlfriends,
like on the plane.
Yeah. So that was pretty dope.
So I think we got one from Aaron. Aaron says, "Stro, the sweatband headband, was it more fashion or was it more function?"
Man, I think I started wearing the headband because of Cliff Robinson. Like maybe more of a
OG,
like more of a trend.
So it was fashion.
Yeah, so like he had the bald head. Man, rest in peace, Uncle Cliff. Man, but man, like I got the headband thing from him. Like when I got to Vancouver, you go in the barbershop to get a haircut, and we don't cut that kind of hair.
So y'all got to keep looking.
I was like, man, I can't woof it out. I can't grow it out. So I just went with the razor, shaved it off, and put the headband on, and I was rocking it ever since.
Okay, so it just went from there.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like I do got you got your Last Dance shirt on. I feel like I do got to ask you about, like, you just a fan of it or what the? So,
man, I hope I don't get in trouble for this, but I stole this from the Jordan docuseries.
Okay.
So this is a shirt from. So I'm coaching high school basketball now. So I had 4 seniors on the team this year. So I started 4 years ago. So this was my 4th year. Like, so I got these guys when they were freshmen, and man, we made it all the way to the state championship and lost. So from our creative team at the school, they felt like that was a cool little thing, the Last Dance with my 4 seniors and myself. So it was a pretty dope shirt. So it was pretty cool. Man. Yeah.
I would say, yeah, we should be. That's for a good cause. Like it's for a good thing.
Yeah. So I ran with it. So I hope MJ and they don't, like, we're not making any money off of it, but
right.
You know, I stole it from them.
He borrowed.
I borrowed it from him. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
And one last question. Question we ask all our legends. Getting together season 2 of our playlist. You know, so what songs are you playing when you on the way to practice, on the way home from practice, at home, during practice? What are you listening to these days?
Man, I'm coaching at a Christian academy. So the music that I'm listening to now is more of a Christian.
Right.
So man, like I always tell my kids, like, man, your eyes and your ears are the gateway to your soul. So like what you listening to? Because man, there's a lot of violence like that's going on in the world, like in my city, in my community. And like to me, these days the kids are really acting out on like the stuff that they're hearing and seeing.
Right.
Like, you know, like as a parent, you want to teach your kid right from wrong, like the video games and the stuff that you're listening to, like it's not real. But like right now, like these kids are really like living out like what they're listening to.
Right.
Their favorite rappers, when they're constantly like talking about like killing and just everything that's going on, like you're seeing it. So like for me, like it's like I've tried to like I still listen to a little bit of rap, but it's more of that like old school that from my era.
What
But
kind of old school?
man, I like the Hot Boys, No Limit. So you know, I still rock with the No Limit. I still listen to that a little bit. Being in Memphis, man, 8 Ball, MJG. You got 3-6. So like that was man, like there was some cool dudes. Like they supported the Grizzlies. Like I don't know if they still are at the games a lot, but man, when I was in Memphis, like they had like front row seats. They sat like right next to us. So they were some good dudes. Juicy J and DJ Paul, like they were some good dudes.
Definitely. Okay, well, yeah, we'll throw some old 3-6 on there. We can throw some old Hot Boys, Wayne and Juicy, all them on it. We'll put a couple songs on the playlist for you.
Okay. Hey man, you can't leave out my brother, man. Pete, like if you don't put some No Limit on there, I might be in trouble. But
okay, you know, we can definitely throw some Mia X, some Master P on there.
Master P, Mystical, like them was my boys, man.
Shocker, yeah,
man. I went through a period in my career, like I was actually playing in No Limit tennis shoes. Like P came out with the sneaker line, so I was representing for a little while.
Okay, so yeah, you go way back with them.
Oh yeah.
Okay, yeah. So we'll definitely make sure we throw some No Limit, some old school on there for you.
Yes, sir.
All right, Stromile Swift, thank you so much for taking some time and joining us today, man.
Man, I appreciate you guys like having me, man. Like this is a great platform, like for the retired players. So man, it's an honor and a pleasure to actually be on the show. So thank you.
Oh, of course, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir.
Right, and that'll do it for this week's Legends Live. As you know, we've got new episodes live every Thursday. You can catch them on the NBA Alumni's Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch page. I'd like to remind viewers you can watch replays of any episode at legendsofbasketball.com/legendslive. You can catch the audio replay to our conversations by searching for Legends Live wherever you get your podcast. I'd like to give a big thank you to Stromile for joining us, to Bridget, to Julio, to Aaron behind the scenes, to all of you for watching, and we will see you next Thursday.